burn-the-tape type game against Wazoo, the Beavs prep for a very winnable home matchup against Colorado. But they'll have to stop the Buffs' dynamic duo of Sefo Lufau and Nelson Spruce to do it. We'll talk to Coach Anderson about the keys to victory on Saturday, plus the Beavs bulk up their coaching staff. What does the hiring of Gary Croton mean for the program? Coach Anderson's here to break it all down. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker. Here we go. Throws toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
And welcome in to the Flat Tail Brewing Studio. It's Beavers Inside the Huddle along with Beavs legend Steve Priest. I am Dusty Harrow. We will be with you here for the next half hour and joined by Coach Gary Anderson coming up in a mere moments from now. Steve, it was a 52-31 loss for the Beavs on the Palouse against Washington State. Initial thoughts of that game, heading back to Reeser for the first time in a month with Colorado coming in.
You know, the Beavers were well prepared for this game, believe it or not. They were doing the right things in practice on defense. They just didn't translate it to the field. And you talk about that, and it was really very simple, basic stuff. Tackling, getting in the right position. They just didn't translate from practice to the game.
And that's exactly where we will start on the InFocus Mondo Pad. Collaboration, that works. It was tackling. That was the bugaboo for the Beavs this last week against Washington State. It was some of the pretty simple stuff and the basic stuff of the Cougars offense.
Yeah, and you look at this, and first of all, let's look where the line of scrimmage is. Right down here on the 40. This is a third down situation. It's a zone. These three guys are going to play it very well, and they're going to take care of these three. It's very simple what happens here. All you got to stop them is before this line. There's the first down. Let's take a look and see what happens here. Watch the cover. Quarterback throws to the outside. Now look, right here. There's the line of scrimmage. He's in great position. He's got the sideline there. All you've got to do is force him this way and keep your body in front of him. Drive him out of bounds, but don't let him upfield, and you got to stay on your feet. Let's take a look.
Sideline's your best friend, right, Steve?
Absolutely. It's been mine a lot. You see there, he leaves the ground, and he gets he doesn't quite get the first down, but it's close enough to make it a short yardage situation they pick up. Here, another situation where this is a man-to-man. There were three people across, man-to-man. They picked him up very well. He makes a nice little move and heads to the outside, but still, you've got quite a ways to go on this situation for a first down. And watch what happens. Stay up, stay high. Hit him here. You don't dive for him. Very simple. You get off the field if you make this play. Take a look. Just a Toreador right there. It was real simple, folks. It was a bad miss. In this situation, this is another deal where you're down, getting ready to score. This should be easy coverage across here. Should work very well. You just make the tackle. You stay up. You make sure that this guy doesn't get downfield for the first down, and you're off the field with, at worst, a field goal. Let's take a look.
And again, you got pressure coming. And
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Keep note of it. You can see it already. The guys are already starting to bolt in there.
It's man-to-man anytime you have a pressure situation. And watch this. There's the throw. He's a little bit slow getting there. This is the strong safety. He came from way back deep, but there's a good situation. It's over. You can't get down the field. He's got help coming in from this side. He'll have help. He'll have help. Just stay up on your feet. Now let's take a look and see what happens here. Should be an easy hit, and instead he leaves his feet. When you leave your feet, you can't tackle. And that's the kind of thing the Beavers are doing. They don't do it in practice. They do a great job of playing football technically well, and they just haven't translated it to the football field the last 3 weeks.
It's not something that's overly complex. If it could go wrong, it did go wrong, and it was the simplest of things against the Washington State Cougars. Let's give a little credit where credit is due, though. Luke Falk, it's not just a Beaver problem. It's a national problem that is happening with this kid, Luke Falk, right now. Ever since that Portland State loss, he has been on fire for the Cougs.
Well, he has, and we saw a large reason for that is those three receivers are phenomenal, and the running back catches the ball well. They do some remarkable things. This guy put 6 touchdowns on the Beavs in the first half. In order to stop a guy like Falk, you've got to get pressure on the receiver receivers first, so he can't just unload without any pressure on him. It's one of those things where pressure quick to stop the receivers, then you can put pressure on Luke Falk, then you can stop the play. And the Beavers didn't necessarily do it in that order. And again, they practice it well, and it doesn't translate.
Well, one guy in Luke Falk is last year as a freshman, he came in the middle of the season. He looked a little rattled. He didn't have the athleticism to escape. He doesn't have the athleticism that one Seth Collins does to get away. Seth Collins is using his legs for this Beavers offense quite well. You can kind of hope in that the development upstairs and with the passing game comes with Seth as it did with Luke Falk over the last handful of games.
Absolutely. And I love what Seth's doing right now. He's using the offense as he runs it best, running the football. He's got heart. He takes it upon himself. Look at these runs. I mean, it's phenomenal. The speed is phenomenal. He's doing so much for the Beavs. Another game over 100 yards. He's averaging 81 a game, even though he's had a couple of real tough games where they've stacked it up on him. What the Beavers need in that running game is to add a little bit more. Use those strong, their experienced offensive linemen. Get Storm Woods. Get some of these guys involved. Use the two young backs, Haskins and Nall. Get them more involved, and then it'll force the defensive secondary to start playing the run a little bit and make it easier on those receivers and on Seth Collins.
Let's hear from the coach himself. Gary Anderson will join us next and preview the Colorado Buffaloes with Sefo Liufau, their junior quarterback and one of the best receivers in the country, Nelson Spruce. Coach Anderson sitting down. This is Beavers Inside the Huddle. We continue. Welcome back into the Flat Tail Brewing Studios along with Steve Priest, Dusty Hara. Joining us now is the head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, Gary Anderson, joining us live from Corvallis. Coach Anderson, thank you for taking a few minutes for us today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having us on, as always.
This weekend, a late-night showing on the Pac-12 network as the Colorado Buffaloes will roll into town. And these guys, I guess where we'll start, they got quite the 1-2 punch with Sefo Liufau and Nelson Spruce. This is kind of different dynamic than what you guys saw last week, where it's by committee in the receiving corps or anything that you guys have seen this year. How do you go about slowing down these guys who are quite the combination?
Well, you know, the bottom line is they've effectively run the ball, which I think is really helping them in their throw game. They're a physical team up front, and you've seen them have a lot of success. They'll line up sometimes in just two tight end personnel and, you know, try to ram the ball down your throat, which is shows they've got some strength and some size, and running backs are able to get it done. But there's a lot of playmakers on the edges also. They still spread the ball around pretty good and get them to numerous people out there. But it's an offense that can get in and try to hammer you, which I like, and that's what you should do when you have the ability to be able to do it. But yet they can still get spread and have an athletic quarterback move around and really hurt you. So it's a well-conceived offensive plan.
They're pretty balanced. They run the ball well. They throw the ball well. Does it make a lot of difference in what your game plan will be to stop them defensively?
Well, I think the biggest thing for these guys is you have to have some different packages, and you really have to have a complete package when they're in. You know, they'll get all the way to 23 personnel, which is 2 backs, 3 tight ends. They'll get into 22 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, and 1 wide receiver. They'll get into 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers, a running back, and a tight end, and then they'll get to 10 personnel with 4 wide receivers and a running back in there. So, you know, they will mix you around, and then in 11 personnel, they'll really change up the formations. They'll have an anchor tight end. They'll put him out and play him as a wide receiver. So we have to be able to have our base package. We have to have a tough package, and we also have to go all the way into goal line. So they eat up a lot of practice time. But the biggest thing is you look at this team and you see that they are competing with every team that they play at a pretty high level, and they're right in those Pac-12 games. And so I don't know how they've been in the past or how far they've come since Mike's been there, but obviously this is a team that is competing with everybody that they're playing against week in and week out.
Coach, now that we've stopped them on defense, we've got the football, and how do you defeat a team like this? How do we generate more offensively, right, you know, to the end line, which is points, but to get our running game to translate into a passing game? What do you do to bring one, or for one to bring the other?
Well, you know, you're going to see us continually try to move the pieces of the puzzle around to get them in the right spots and be more successful on the offensive side of the ball. And right now, you know, the last week especially, we really became almost one-dimensional, and that was with our quarterback runs and a few other runs with some running backs breaking through and making some plays. So you'll see some changes. You'll see some adjustments this week within the offensive scheme to give us an opportunity to hopefully have the throw game be effective for us, because it's we've got some good wide receivers out there. We want to be able to get them the ball. They need to catch it when they get the opportunity, run the correct routes, and be in the right spots, and then we have to be able to throw the ball. So it's important for us to be able to work to continually put the right kids in the right spots, and we'll play some different people in some different spots and see if that helps us out. But right now, offense, defense, we have not played where we need to be to have a chance to be able to win a Pac-12 game. And until you can compete in all three phases, now including special teams in that, you're not going to win. It's not just the offense, it's not just the defense, it's not just the special teams, it's not just one position group. It's overall we have to get better if we expect to win.
One thing that you mentioned is in the special teams game, you guys kind of pulled out a few of the stops, went into the trick play bag a little bit. Some work, some don't. Is that something that we're going to see more of? We saw the fake punt this past weekend against the Cougs. Is that something that we should start getting used to with the Beavs special teams?
Well, yeah, the one that we ran deep in their territory, that should not have been a fake. It ended up looking like it was a fake, but we need to kick that ball. But being aggressive on special teams, absolutely. And you're going to succeed on some, and you're not going to succeed. It just depends on how you feel. The one that we didn't get in that situation ended up defense studded up and gave up 3 points. But we need to be aggressive, absolutely, where we sit right now on all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. But I was happy that we were able to make some aggressive calls as that game went on that paid off for us. And when I say that, you look at the block punt, you look at our ability to kick a deep field goal, you look at our ability to get an onside kick, and we were much more aggressive at times. And you can be aggressive as long as the kids will respond in those moments and have an opportunity to make plays. Does that guarantee they all work? No. But I think it's a message needs to be sent. We've talked to them since January 4th about being aggressive. I think they took the next step as far as being able to understand, hey, you know what, we might call this, so we better be ready to execute it, and then putting the best spot to be able to execute. Like I always say, players make plays, players win games when they give them the opportunities, and we were able to get more aggressive last week, which was great to see.
One thing that we always do with you, Coach, is we take a question from Twitter. This one coming from Jack using the hashtag BeaversFB is how you can get questions in. Jack says, the news earlier this week that Nick Mitchell has earned his way onto the field, and Jack says, is this Mitchell earning his way, or maybe the other quarterback's not performing and he's just going to get a shot and an opportunity to play for Oregon State this weekend against Colorado?
Well, again, I think it's important to, if somebody's going to get on the field, they've earned the right to get on the field. There is no gimmies, not with us as a staff, and our kids would not expect to just, hey, somebody's going to go out there and see if they can do better. That's not the case. And, Nick has worked extremely hard. He's put himself in a position to possibly have opportunities as we move forward, and it's just another part of the puzzle where young kids get better as they go through time, and we know we need to get better on offense. You've seen much of that this last couple weeks on the defensive side also. We'll take players and move them in spots to where we think that they can best help us, and that's always a big part of coaching, in my opinion, as to whether you're winning every game or you're not playing as well as you want to or you're struggling. You always try to stay on the cutting edge and put the best kids in the position, and when you're as young as we are, kids get better. They grow up. They understand what football's about. They get themselves in the moment. So if they deserve the opportunity to get on the field, we will give them that opportunity, because you never know how somebody's going to react until they get into a game.
A lot more to get to with Coach Anderson as Beavers Inside the Huddle continues. We still got our keys to the game to get to, and the most talked about volunteer in the history of all time joining the staff down in Corvallis, Gary Croton. Continue our conversation with Oregon State head football coach Gary Anderson along with Steve Priest. I am Dusty Hare. This is Beavers Inside the Huddle. Coach Anderson, this week, I teased it as the most discussed volunteer in the history of mankind, and especially down in Corvallis, but you guys bring in Gary Croton as an offensive brain to come into the offense and kind of get a new set of eyes and a new set of ears on this. He was the head coach for Coach McGivens, the quarterback's coach down at Louisiana Tech. How did this all come about, and what is the premise of bringing Coach Croton in for that new set of eyes? Well,
obviously, Kevin and Coach Croton go way back, and of closely related in the family, and they've also worked together. And so Kevin came to me and said, Coach Croton is just kind of hanging out, wants to coach football and be involved, and he wanted to be able to say, could he come up for a few days initially? And I said, that'd be fantastic. I always want to get experienced eyes on our program to evaluate myself and all the coaches and help us out. It kind of grew from there to where, I don't know, maybe his wife kicked him out of the house and said, come back when the season's over or whatever it is. But hopefully we can keep him throughout the season. Coach Croton wanted to volunteer his time, and how do you say no to that when I have so much respect for him? When we've competed against each other in some very, very competitive games when he was at BYU and I was at Utah, and I have much respect for him. He's done a great job coming in. He doesn't have an agenda. At the end of the day, it's cost us, I don't know, a couple hats, T-shirt, maybe a sweatshirt along the line. And he's been very happy to be here, and we're lucky to have him. I'll tell you that much. And he adds a lot to us as we continue to move forward. He loves to be around young men, and his life's just not the same if he's not involved in coaching. And so we're excited to have him.
Coach, is it an overview kind of position where he's looking at the entire offense, or is he going to help Kevin specifically in the quarterback position with the young guys?
Well, he's just basically kind of, I guess you could say a consultant down the line to be able to be there and give his 2 cents. And it's been great because Dave, Kevin, Coach Woods, Coach Brennan, they're all in there, and they're sitting around and understanding. And it's been good for Coach Lockett. It's been good for all those coaches. So his job description is just be able to do whatever he wants to be able to do as far as helping our offense move along. It's just he's been in so many offenses. He's been in the pro style. He's been up there in Canada where there's an extra guy on the field, so that doesn't bring much to the table for us. But he's been in spread systems. He's been very, very well educated in this game of football for a long time, and it's very valuable for me also. I really want him to take a look at things and give me an honest evaluation of the job that he thinks we're doing with these kids, and quite frankly what I'm doing. So he's overall within this program looked at with high regard, and as another coach that we can all lean on to try to get these kids better.
I like that extra man theory, Coach. That's a good idea. I know you're very concerned.
That'd be good for us. That'd be great.
The programs that you have outside of football, we talked a little bit last week. You've got another one, a leadership camp that is in Utah, Fort Miller. It's Army Special Ops puts it on. Tell us about that, what it does for your athletes, and how many of them go, and is it a yearly thing that you'll be doing?
Well, it started with them coming over here, and Mark Drown was, he is my son Keegan's his father-in-law, so he came over here and he spent time. He brought 2 or 3 people with him over here to communicate with the team. We had a team meeting. Then from there I broke them off into a group of leaders that were on the team. They had some tremendous meetings, sitting down just talking about things. And those guys in the military have real valuable experiences for student athletes, quite frankly for anybody, if they get the opportunity to be in that setting. It's just the teamwork and everything that goes into that is fantastic. From there they did go over to Salt Lake City, or to Ogden, I guess, and we sent 12 kids over there and spend a weekend. It was fantastic because we were able to take some older kids, we were able to take some younger kids, and they had to intertwine with each other, get to know each other. It just forces leadership, it forces teamwork, it forces them to get to know each other a little bit better. We would love to do that every single year. Our kids are definitely holding their hand in the air and want to be the guys that get to go next year. So we will always try to give our kids the opportunity to learn life lessons, which they did in that situation. I think it made them a better student. I think it made them better athletes, and it made them a better person. And anytime we do anything that involves with beyond football, we're looking for the opportunity to affect those kids in all 3 of those areas. And this was an example of it. It's just a fantastic experience for those young men. So we're appreciative that they gave us the opportunity to come over.
A big game for the Beavs this weekend down at Reser Stadium with the Colorado Buffaloes in town. Coach, thank you for the time this week, and good luck against the Buffs.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it as always. Go Beavs.
Still got to get to our keys to the game, Steve, as Oregon State hosts the Colorado Buffaloes. Here's what's coming up on Comcast Sportsnet Northwest. #Beavers tomorrow night, 9 p.m. CSN Game Day. Bright and early, 9 a.m. Talking about Monday, 7 p.m. Thank you for being with us a little bit later than usual this week. We'll be back to our normal time next week. Thursdays at 8 o'clock. But You know, we have these things with hockey games and whatnot. They had to bump us back a little bit. It's time to get to our keys of the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealers. I'm starting establish the run on early downs. Got to make third down manageable, especially for Seth Collins. Number 2, convert on third down. Lowest third down conversion percentage in the Pac-12 heading into this week. And then prevent the big play. That could be as simple as, hey, tackle.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And, you know, my situation is I always try to spread it offense, defense, and what they can do on special teams. And defensively, you just got to play as you practice. We talked about it early in the show, but these Beavers are prepared at practice, and they seem to lose sight of it in the game. So play like you're taught, the detail of your assignment, you'll be successful. You'll stop those third downs. Offense, you simply must possess the football. This 3-and-out stuff is killing the Beavs. They've got to keep the other team off the field by doing it well. Special teams, you got to net points. I think that's important. I love what Coach Anderson and his staff did last week. They're trying to create something with their special teams. Got to do it.
All right. Big weekend for the Beavs as the Colorado Buffaloes. This is a very winnable game for Oregon State. It's at home. Vegas thinks that they should win this one as they're favored. What are you thinking, your prediction for this one?
You know, I just continue to believe that Oregon State is ready for a breakout game, that this is all going to come together, that it hasn't all the way along the entire season. They had some good games early on, but it'll come together.